its response to the actions of the Islamic State and subsequent Western intervention in Iraq. That's page 39. Can we have someone to motivate that?
Right.
3 minutes.
Yeah, Matt Hale, Sheffield Left Unity, but speaking on behalf of the BA, what do we call it, motion. Yeah, I mean, I suspect, I don't really have to try and persuade most members in this room that, the actual actions taken by the so-called Islamic State, should actually be opposed. It is, however, something that, I think we need to really attempt to be a bit more clear-cut on, actually, really attempt to actually push further with the policies that, we are actually taking today. I mean, supported, both financially and materially, including by the actual provision of arms, by various reactionary Arab dictatorships across the Middle East, in particular, Saudi, individuals from the actual Saudi regime. The IS themselves, they do pose a detrimental threat, to minorities and opponents actually living in areas that they themselves actually do control. Hostility to IS, though, from our own government, it's not really driven by any kind of genuine concern for those actually being persecuted, but attempts to actually reposition themselves in an ever-changing climate actually across the region. Yes, the borders might actually be redrawn, but I don't think that's any. I don't think that's itself is a reason. I don't think that's ourselves a reason. For ourselves, for us to actually for ourselves into the camp of the IS, like the John Tooman and Mark Anthony France Reckon Amendment actually does suggest that itself should have to be voted down completely. Sorry, I'm Northern. Is that better? All right, lovely. I didn't hear any no's. I mean, had that actually been the case, so that our own government, were actually opposing IS for any kind of genuine concern for those actually being persecuted, I think it would have to be pretty clear that Britain would long ago have actually pushed for the actual right of Kurds themselves to self-determination, not just in Iraqi Kurdistan, but actually much larger than that. I mean, it's actually going back to the actual 2003 invasion of Iraq, that we can actually really begin to actually see, where we can actually really begin to actually see, where the actual roots of IS do actually come from, with the actual sectarianism itself that was encouraged. So yes, while we should actually recognise, we should actually recognise the right of those that are opposing IS, to ask for help. But I don't think that's necessarily the same as saying, yes, we should. Yes,
can you stop now,
please? Saying it's support. So I'll just finish on this, though. Yeah.
Can you wind up?
No, yeah, will do.
Sorry, we're really short on time, so we can't have that. Can I have someone for Amendment BA1, please, on page 40?
John Penny, North Wales branch. The amendment itself, the First Amendment, the motion, has got some good stuff in it, but it's incredibly schizophrenic. On the one hand, it recognises that there is what Rosa Luxemburg called a carnival of reaction taking place right across the Middle East, as all the old boundaries of the Middle East collapse and as the hopes of the Arab Spring dissolve. We're seeing in that collapse slave markets open up for women. We're seeing the mass persecution and murder of ethnic minorities, and we're seeing murderous gangs on both the Sunni and Shia sides. It's very easy for us on the left to say, a curse on all your houses, it's nothing to do with us. But the fact is there is one progressive source of movement in the Middle East, and that is the struggle of the Kurdish people, who are still standing up for equality between men and women, for a secular state, and it links in with their long struggle for a nation state. What we're essentially saying is the motion as it stands is schizophrenic, because on the one hand we're saying we recognise their right to resist the barbarism of IS. On the other hand, we grudge the British government or the Americans responding to their demands for heavy weapons and air support. It's not really up to us to make demands of the government. All we should say is we support the legitimate demands of the Kurdish people in their self-defense. And just like in the Second World War, we had no illusions as socialists in the goodwill of the Americans or the British when they supplied arms to the resistance movements across Europe and Asia. So we have no illusions in the goodwill of the imperialists today. But if the Kurdish people, in their self-defense, demand weapons from anybody at all, it is not up to us to stand in the way of that by saying, oh no, we will stand up to some rigid idea of anti-imperialism. We have to support the Kurdish people in their right of self-defense. And if in that tactical instance that means they get weapons from anybody or air support, that is our political duty to do that. Thanks, comrades.
Okay, and now it's Amendment BA2, page 41.
It's off. My amendment is long. It's long because I took it to the International Commission in order to get it thoroughly debated, and I tried to incorporate as much as possible of what happened in that debate. First, two things about what this amendment is not, because there have been deliberate misunderstandings. It is not calling for support for the Islamic State. And what it is also not doing is saying that any serious socialist analysis of the Middle East can actually put all of its eggs into one basket, a particular group of people like the Kurds or like the Palestinians in the Middle East. We have to have an overall analysis, and it cannot be a Eurocentric analysis of what is happening there. Now, there are two choices. There's business as usual for the left, which internationalism in the Middle East means going on anti-war demonstrations, supporting single issue, single nationality campaigns, abstract calls for international support and solidarity, but not getting to grips with the main issues of the region. Or there is trying to construct the difficult job of an overall critique and analysis of what is happening, and you come down with the inescapable reality that the Versailles Agreement in 1919, which set the Middle East up as a series of nation states drawn up by the imperialist powers around the oil wells, is the root of all of the problems it has today. The Kurds cannot get national self-determination under the Versailles Agreement. Kurds are spread throughout 4 national states in the Middle East. They have been excluded because of that carve-up, and they cannot get what they need from that carve-up. What this reflects is an old problem for the left of how do socialists square internationalism with national aspirations for self-determination. And what my view on this is that self-determination doesn't just mean the right to break away from states. It means the right for people who have been partitioned, like the Muslim Arabs of the Middle East, to actually unify. Now, the caliphate has been cleverly presented by Western media and Western governments in a way that confuses it with atrocities. The caliphate is actually, and the demand for the caliphate arose over centuries when the original Muslim state was dismembered.
Can you wind up now, please?
Into pieces. Right.
No, that's the end. Sorry, it's 3 minutes. We have to move on. Okay, so motion BB.
Motion BB, which is the Standing Orders Committee have notified me that this is separate to motion BA. Is that correct? BB from from Sheffield.
It looks the same.
Yeah, okay, good.
Sorry, Luke. We were discussing the caliphate. I got a bit lost, sorry. Okay, comments. I'm moving the Ben Lewis comments platform, CPGB. Too loud? Okay. Ben Lewis, CPGB comments platform. I'm a member of Left Unity Sheffield. I was actually commissioned to update the motion just put forward by Matt Hale from our branch. We felt that it's got the right aspirations. It calls for a socialist foreign policy into these questions and dealing with the reactionary phenomenon of ISIS, Daesh. And I was charged basically to tidy it up a little bit and maybe bring out more of that aspiration in terms of consistency in arguing for an independent working class political perspective on these questions. I haven't got much time to outline all the differences. It's a shame they are presented in the way they are because it's not very, very clear. But I want to focus on some of the differences between the two motions and why I think in terms of a socialist response to ISIS, the motion I'm putting forward on behalf of Sheffield Left Unity is superior. The main change I made concerned Matt's call in his motion, albeit for critical support, but support for the Free Syrian Army. And I think we have to be very clear here, comrades, that calling for support, albeit of a critical nature, for the Free Syrian Army has absolutely nothing to do with the socialist response to ISIS. It's bound up in the whole crisis. It's for a long time now been the plaything of a kind of proxy instrument for different competing imperialist interests. And in terms of its anti-imperialism, so-called, its glowing credentials, recently called on Israel, for example, to deal with Assad. That's not working class politics. That's not socialist politics. And I think that is